Well, first of all, everybody, thank you for coming to this session. Excited to have you here, and I'm just going to introduce our speaker. But Barramundi has been solving IT problems for 25 years now. We're having our 25th anniversary coming up. So, and with the theme, we really do have one tool to rule them all, and to solve them all. So we're super excited to be here and to be with you. And I did put the shameless plug in for the party because we are sponsoring that tonight. So it should be a really, really good time and a cool venue. And I want to just hand it over to, this is Will Wyatt. And he is
Hey, everyone.
He is our pre-sales engineer and consultant. And he's going to talk to you a little bit about user experience. But keep it interactive. He's got some fun in here as well. So any questions, let's make it happen and have a good 45 minutes or so. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Cool. Well, we'll kick it right off. So to keep some interaction alive, too, if you feel free to share, I'm going to throw out some questions to the audience. We'll give you a little incentive, buy you a coffee. So if you want to share a story with us when I ask a question, please feel free. So today's subject, the user satisfaction equals admin relaxation, our secret formula for IT. I'm going to start it off with one of my quotes here. Computers are the latest tech innovation, effectively slowing down office work. We all may have experienced that here and there. I'll set the stage here. So let's picture you're a user. You're starting your day Monday morning. You come in, open your laptop. You're getting your coffee, sitting down, either work from the office, maybe you're working remote. Open up the laptop, join that Teams meeting. It just started a couple minutes ago. Right away, you open it up and you get the screen hang. It's a pretty related thing. Your boss is asking, where are you? They're like, are you in this meeting? And you're, hey, my laptop's stuck. It's just not loading. Makes you look bad, especially if you're the presenter. So that's not a good way to start your Monday. Now let's also flip the perspective. Say that you're an IT admin, and it's Monday morning. You're going to get that call from all the users or the tickets coming in, hey, my PowerPoint is not working today. And they're going to be frantic. They're going to be blaming you guys like, hey, my IT, this is not working. My tech is broken. Our applications are crashing. We're just going to have a terrible Monday really to start it off. So for both of us, both the admins and the users, having an efficient technology that actually works is really why we're here, and what keeps us job security. So we can all relate to this guy. Monday morning, this is exactly what we run into, is that head on the desk feeling where you're just, man, this is a terrible way to start. But this is what users experience every day. Every day across the country, we, out of all our companies, people are just head down on the desk in pain with their IT experience. Now, what if we could figure out a way to stop this from happening, or actually maybe be proactive in our IT pathway and how we actually interact with our users, not just solving tickets as they come in, but fixing them before they even create a ticket. That's what really the future that we're trying to look into, and how to change the way that we behave as IT admins to be a lot more proactive in our approach and actually figure out how to save time for the users and save frustration while making us look much better as just professionals. Well, see, this is exactly the problem, and this is what we run into. Now, thankfully, that was just a little joke in there for everyone, but I don't know who caught it. So yeah, that's exactly what we run into, is just little hangs that disrupt the flow of our conversation. So we did a little bit of research, and we found out that in an IT profession, just in general, how many people have at least one problem a week? Quite a few. And then how long are those disruptions? A lot of them are over 30 minutes sometimes. If you multiply that 30-minute disruption that comes up across all the employees or all the different companies, the loss in productivity gets pretty substantial. Each one of those losses is not just a loss in productivity either. It's also frustration. The users are getting upset. Your IT team starts looking a little bit Like people question, oh, these guys actually know what they're doing? So that's a little bit of a disruption for your work, and it takes a while to get back on task. Even managers admit that IT disruptions have often unpleasant situations with customers and their business users. So it's definitely pretty problematic. And even some employees would consider leaving their job just because of their way their IT is performing or their way their tech stack works. If you're really in pain trying to just do your job, you may look at other companies that would not have the same restrictions or problems that you're running into. So, and then also, how do people react with those disruption times when you're actually working? Do you just restart your system? Do everyone turns to each other at their desk and it's like, hey, your Outlook freezing? Can you get into your Outlook calendar? Everyone's pops in and is trying to figure out what's going on. Eventually they will submit a ticket, hopefully. Not always. Sometimes people just suffer in silence, and those are the ones that are the hardest for us to fix. If we don't know about it, how can we help you? So being able to identify things ahead of time is really what the name of the game is here. So let's take the typical perspective of an IT admin. This is your company. It's a melon. It's all green on the outside. Everything looks good. We have everything up to date. Everything's patched. It looks pretty healthy. Everything looks pretty good. Nice edible watermelon. Got secure, up to date, performance optimized. But really what's happening to merge together. Oh yeah, please.
I thought you might have had a Gallagher thing in there where you hit me with the hammer.
That's good. Has anyone ever had like just a vague ticket where the user submits a ticket that was entirely different than what you discovered upon finding it? Yeah, I'll do the front. Does anyone have like an example they could share of like one of those weird scenarios? Yeah, no, I mean this is perfect. Live feed. It was completely unexpected for what the actual problem was.
Not a clue. Michael is stuck on RE-RE and no starting. What is that?
That's hard. Yeah.
I got a good one.
Yeah.
They complained about Outlook on their phone isn't working.
Oh yeah.
They had the iPhone mail app open.
Oh, so yeah. See, it's not even Outlook. It just has the mail icon, but no one knows the difference, right? What's the difference between those two? Oh, maybe just something small, like it's a completely different app. So this is really what we're running into, is just this difference in perspective from how the users view the IT experience and then how us as admins view it. So what is there to do? We really have to find a balance or find a middle ground of how we can change this disconnect between the IT team's experience and then find out what the difference is. So if you survey a group of a lot of admins and you'll ask what the 3 different issues are that you feel confident or not confident that your IT team can address, a lot of people will say, productivity tools are a little bit challenging, or they're not challenging anyway. We feel confident. Core business tools we can manage, but then sometimes the VPN performance is a pretty big challenge. Versus the other side of the house is what technology issues are mostly getting reported by employees to be a problem. They report that the VPN connection is one of their biggest problems. So A, the admins usually are not as confident being able to resolve the VPN issues, and then B, it's also one of the top complaints from a user. So this is just kind of the middle ground between the IT team versus the user. We really just need data that the IT team collects, and then we also need the end user's feedback. We need them to be more open to us and actually telling us what they're experiencing. When they don't submit tickets or we don't actually see or get feedback, we have no idea. It's very, very difficult to get that perspective from the user. And it's also very valuable. The last thing you want, either as an admin team in-house or as an external, if you're an MSP, if your service or the service that you're providing is seen as subpar, you sometimes risk to have the team changed out or have your contract not renewed if you're a managed service provider. So for both sides, you really run into potential problems by not having that confidence of your user group. So how are we going to promote to have a sustainable IT environment? We need to increase the health score from all sides. So the first part, we got to build that foundation. We really got to find out what data the users and devices that they're using are putting out, or what problems are coming up. So we really need to understand what's happening at the user level, capturing device usage data across all those applications, any crash data, any blue screens, any problems really that come up. We have to be able to document and data collect on that. Next, we need to visualize the data. So once we've collected it, if you don't have a way to visualize it, it's just a bunch of random numbers collected that you can't do anything with. So by being able to visualize the data that we're collecting from the user interactions and the problems, we're able to then make actionable changes to correct for it. Once we have the visualization, we can analyze, and we can correct. We can use analysis via like AI, for instance, that can then take the data and then give you suggestions on the environment, or maybe show you where problems are occurring that aren't visualized. So we can really get a good idea on just the health of everything. And then finally, take action. How do we implement fixes and make changes? We need that data in order to know what to actually do, where the problems lie. So being able to kind of this cycle here is really what brings everything together. Once we collect the data, we visualize, analyze what the problems are, and then we can take action. So at Barramundi, we have this new definition, or not really new, but it's the end user experience management, which is kind of EUEM. It's like a newer term in the field. It's a way that we can interact with the actual user side. So we have kind of two directions here. We have the cycle that we just discussed, and then we also have the way to get the experience indicators. So we need to check the stability scores, the performance, connectivity, and then get that feedback. And then also we need to capture, visualize, analyze, and take action. So obviously one of the major areas here is the software crashes and hangups. This is a major component here. A lot of times people just wait when the hang-up happens or the software crashes. They'll just reboot their computer or change to a different task. Boot and startup times. How much time are people waiting at that BitLocker screen, or how much is Windows taking a long time to start up in the beginning of their day? These are actionable or measurable items that we can find data on. Also the connectivity performance. What kind of data rates are they getting? Are they slow when they're working from home and then they're fine in the office? Or maybe there's a spot in the office that just has a terrible connection. We'll be able to identify these problems and then be able to help the employees have a more successful experience. Also, yeah, their home office. Just is it a viable place for them to work? So yeah, this is just really our comprehensive Rubik's Cube. I don't know, I think I saw someone giving out a Rubik's Cube. Is that like a swag item this year? Yeah, I never could figure those things out. So what this really comes down to is what we see. We see the app crashes. I'm just using Google Chrome as an example. We'll see over time, as time goes on, we'll see the different app crashes throughout the cycle. We'll see the patching going out. We'll see updates happening and problems being fixed, which is our melon. Everything's green. We're in a good spot. There's nothing to problem in the admin's eyes. And then the end user feedback, they're going to tell us that, hey, even though Chrome's up to date, it's hanging up. My 1,000 tabs keep closing on me. So what do we do? We need to be able to figure out a weird fix sometimes to help these people. What's like the weirdest fix someone has ever implemented for a recurring problem that didn't make any sense on paper, but then somehow solved the problem for you guys? Does anyone have like a real use example of something where it shouldn't have worked, but it did?
If you're having a problem with a domain joined laptop, you just turn off all the Ethernet ports on the device, you log into it, and then you turn it back on, and then you're good.
See? That's a non-straightforward, but you end up with the correct result, right?
Yep.
So it doesn't make sense always, but it fixes it.
I've got one for myself, actually.
Yeah.
My calendar stops working, and I have to reboot the font services to get the calendar working again.
The which service?
The fonts.
The font. Oh, it doesn't make any sense, yeah. But for some reason, it works, and that's what you do. It really, the outcome is what matters. So the big picture is we see the flow of the updates. We see things getting patched, we see things getting fixed, but then the user is having a different track or trajectory. So that user feedback where they're interacting, they're seeing these weird fixes and they're just like, this doesn't make any sense. I don't understand why this isn't working. And sometimes we don't either, but at least we can visualize it a little bit in a larger view. Sometimes we can also see some of this like just by clearing the cache or something. Like there's like a random action that we do and then performance goes up. But those are things that are sometimes hard to measure. Like a lot of things, like a lot of the management tools we have, even at the show, it's really hard to actually see what's happening when these things happen because we're just running applications, we're updating, we're installing, but you don't get this picture into what the action is that then makes the user happy. So yeah, big picture here, and this weird word that popped up on the side I think is mistranslation from something, but it means like the start of detection versus the end of detection. And then visualization, so we're visualizing the data here as we're collecting it. And then being able to analyze when Chrome is crashing or having problems. This is all through our kind of workflow and how we're measuring and finding data over time. Then we can finally see remediation too, so where we're actually making fixes and seeing how the users, when their user feedback is not lighting things on fire, when their things are resolved and working well. Well, so how does this help? Obviously, the main thing is to get those calls and support tickets down. That's our number one goal. It's really just that day-to-day experience that enhances the IT team's effectiveness, reducing disruptions for the employees, and then also lowering those ticket volumes. So IT teams can then dedicate more resources to actually doing the big projects instead of just these dumb things that pop up that don't make any sense, that always frustrate everyone on both sides. So having this balanced approach really lets for just an overall happier company. Your employees are happy with their technology, and we can actually do more bigger projects. So we have the better, happier users, better IT experience, just more performance and stability, and then just the fewer support tickets. So from the raw data collection, we're looking at those crashes, we're looking at the event viewer logs, any of the data points that are viewable on a machine to know what exactly is happening. We're going to try to define those and then also be able to kind of showcase what we can do with it. So at first we'll define what the actual raw data is. So those are all those metrics that we're talking about. Once we collect and process the raw data, we can then do something with it. We can actually make actionable corrections. And then lastly, once we have all this, we're actually able to use or manipulate with some AI help from our machine brethren out there, analyze and make good decisions based on our environment. So between this group, the employee experience is supporting the digital transformation. We're going to be able to send out quick surveys that go out to our user base. Just a little scary sometimes to see what they have to say, but it also can be helpful to get a good picture on what people's real opinions are. Getting that increased transparency. By getting a little more visibility into the actual hardware performance of each machine, you're able to detect software problems quickly and then be able to issue some remediations. Obviously, this leads to enhanced productivity. Even some sustainability measures in there. If we know that our batteries on our laptops are performing fine or users aren't hitting slowdowns, their CPUs are still running at a lower level, we don't have to replace their hardware as often. We may be able to go from a 3-year cycle to a 5-year cycle. If we're finding that people really aren't pushing their hardware to the limits, we may not need to replace it. So we'll get some increased bonus just from that data collection and actually what people are using. All right, so now we're going to go over how we're going to transform this. So we're really bringing these smiles from frowns to turn them upside down. So going through the process of changing that opinion of your IT team from being unconfident in your abilities to being satisfied employees. So by kind of building the transforming and bringing transparency, we're really addressing all those issues. All right. Obviously, we need to track the boot time, hardware performance, being able to optimize some of those specs. When we're deciding to buy a new machine for someone, if we see that they're running a lot of applications or a ton of Chrome tabs, maybe we need to up our memory count when we're buying a new device. So being able to optimize that is really, really critical to both how much money you need to spend for new equipment and then how much you can save on not buying or overbuying equipment. We can also look at what software stack you guys are using. So if there's particular versions that are coming out that are resulting in more crashes, we may need that knowledge to roll back. If you find that an older version is also crashing more, we may need to mandate an update faster than we would have normally. So being able to figure out what applications are hanging, which applications are crashing, even if no tickets are being submitted, we're still able to see that, visualize it, and make action based on some data that we collected. And this just leads to just an overall increase of productivity. If you really add up all those crashes and hangups, it costs companies a lot of money and just loss in productivity and time. So altogether, kind of this whole process just really allows you to just run a more efficient shop. Now next, we wanted to kind of take you guys through what Barramundi has built. I know a lot of you have probably seen us. We've been at SpiceWorld for, I don't know, maybe 7 years. So everyone's probably seen our product at the booth. We've definitely evolved over the years, but this is kind of more of a completely unique take on how we're going to solve this user experience problem that we've discovered. So I want to take you through a quick kind of live version of what we've built, and then maybe also get some feedback on what you guys would like to see, if there's anything that we're missing or things that are really critical to your opinions. Okay, so this is basically our user feedback and then interaction board. So we have a list of all the clients, all their endpoints, all their technology that they're using, and then we can also get a report back of what that user is experiencing right now. Yeah, so basically we can track the user's feedback. We can even have like regular little interactions that come out. So if a user wants to report back their opinions of their IT, if things are working great, they can just tell us, hey, everything's working normal. This is not submitting a ticket. This is just giving them a voice into their experience. So they can say everything is fine, everything's great. Or maybe we have people that are not happy, and we want to look at people that are actually saying this is bad or very bad. We may want to look at what is actually going on with these unhappy users here. So it gives them just a chance, another voice without having to submit a ticket. Maybe they're a little more honest. A user would say something like their battery was draining extremely quickly, or my computer is taking a long time to start up. Maybe their PowerPoint froze on Monday morning, and now they can voice their frustration. But this lets us then go and look at what actually is happening here. So we can go and see, hey, this customer, or this user is, had good experience, but then they're starting to get a little bit more unhappy as things start to not work as well. And we can actually go and check out what's going on. So we can look at the performance of the machine. So we're talking about that boot time or the downtime that they're, over different boot cycles, how long they're waiting at each stage. We can take a look if they're doing well, or depending against your whole environment, how much longer or shorter they are compared to the average of your organization. And then also like how their boot cycles are. So just a lot of good data points to know if this user is having a good experience or maybe a little poor. Now this one was wanting to talk about their battery performance. So if we bring up their battery, we can see that over time, that's been really degrading. This user probably is going to have trouble without being plugged in. And maybe getting time to replace this battery on this unit, just by seeing the health here. And then so getting this data feedback ahead of the user, they don't really know that their laptop's starting to fail, but we're able to see this in more of a data view than just getting a random support ticket that says, hey, if I unplug my laptop, it dies. We could also look at if there was something like taking up a lot of CPU usage. So I don't know if there was a certain application that maybe was draining the battery. We'd be able to see that they're maxing out their CPU a few times a day. So this lets us know if there's a certain application that's a little bit more draining or more consuming than some others. Probably would also show if they're running some weird Bitcoin mining thing on their PC or something like that, but don't see that as much now, even though we may again soon. We're also able to look into just individual applications too. If you wanted to see someone was complaining about their Outlook, we could look at the Outlook application, all the installs, and then what type of CPU we're taking for all those apps. We're able to look at also just the utilization across the different companies, and then, different employees. Also the stability. So if we want to see like trends with crashes, maybe we're having a new release that just came out, and then now we're suddenly getting a lot more crash activity. That's something we want to be aware of, and we want to make a good decision based on that if we want to roll it back or maybe push to a new version. So getting some good data points into what versions are crashing more often and which ones are less, we can make a more educated decision on what we want to have in our environment. So we can really just look at each individual release, see how many installations are out there. Obviously, an older one you would hope would have less or more crashes when they were patching, but there may be a faulty release that got out there by Microsoft, and now they're having a lot more problems. So being able to visualize this and see across the organization, how many crashes are we having with a specific version. This helps you really make an educated choice on what to do. We're also able to even look at just your general company, how things are performing across the whole company, for instance. If we wanted to look at like all battery health, we might find some outliers. This can give you a nice list of what machines to target, maybe replace a little sooner than you would have normally. We actually had one person use this to find a new shipment of laptops that they purchased. Came with about 100 faulty batteries. They shipped basically with 60% life. So it saved that company a lot of money to be able to flag those and then issue warranty claims with the manufacturer. So just a general way that we can measure things and then kind of get a good view over the entire group of your company. So we can see what type of battery life, what type of CPU usage, if anyone's maxing out, things like that. We're also able to look at like just a general, this is kind of built on the data that we were talking about collecting, but just a general stability score of your environment. If something's changing, if you guys had just done an upgrade to Windows 11 and you're suddenly getting a lot more applications crashing or having problems, this would alert you before the users are putting in their tickets. We could see, based on changes in the environment, so we see a huge increase in crashes or hangups, we can then identify what happened to then help make some resolutions. And that's all based on this kind of user feedback that we send out on a regular basis. You can see how often you want the users to interact. So if you want to send this out on a weekly basis, monthly, the users can then pick, hey, I'm happy with my experience with IT, or I'm unhappy. This is great too if you wanted to look at your C-suite and see, hey, are these guys happy with our service? Making sure that your executive or director levels are happy with the IT experience. Same thing if you're an MSP, because you'd want the decision maker in that company to be enjoying their IT team, or like enjoying their IT. So this gives them just a voice into little things that may come up that they wouldn't otherwise put a ticket in for.
Is the data all based on end user responses, or are you guys plugging in a WMI and pulling info from that?
Yeah. So this actually, it has its own little agent that sits on the device and collects this data. You don't have to have the user say anything. So this is just an option that gives them a voice. It gives you a little more visibility into their interaction with your service. But even if they don't say anything, you could pull up a user that's having their laptop hang up. And that's really what I guess the idea behind this is they don't have to say anything, and you can still tell there's a problem. So even if they're not submitting tickets, you're seeing that they're blue screening 3 times a week, and then they're not putting in a ticket for it. How would us as admins ever know that this was a problem without having this visualization and the response back to identify it? Yep.
Are you able to target individual users or groups, or is it just kind of a shotgun approach?
You can, yeah. So if you wanted to look at just a single machine or user.
Like as far as like actually sending out a feedback survey?
So right now we just have the feedback cycles, but that's a good point. We don't have like a specific one that we could target like that. I think there are ideas to do like groups of users based on like an organizational unit to be able to target certain ones at different times. But yeah, right now it's more just a blanketing approach, kind of like you were saying, a shotgun effect. But yeah, this lets us track based on this feedback, what this user is experiencing, and kind of how that flows through their overtime experience. So you can get just a general temperature reading of the organization, just how your company is viewing your IT team. So it's just like a enhanced view that you can use to make more educated calls, and then how you perform and work with your users. Yeah, thank you everyone.